Hey guys, David here with Terrain-Tronics. A quick one for you today. You know, a lot of you have bought Conwy Castles over the years. I think I've built over 1,000 Conwy Castle boards now that have all shipped out. And I'm sure many of you have managed to get those into your builds and managed to get LEDs in your terrain and so on. But a big question comes, what do we do next? How do we grow from simply using Conwy Castle boards? Now, one of the ways we can do this is we can add a brain to our product, like some kind of intelligence that can do randomized patterns, whether it's lightning effects, whether it's candle flickering on larger LEDs and so on. And so I have three boards which I sell these days. One is the Harlech Castle board, which is a great way of getting 8 LED outputs and putting patterns on them and so on. There's the Caernarfon Castle board, and this is going to be used for RGB LEDs, 3 motors, and even a remote control at the bottom here as well. So we can receive a remote control signal and do all sorts. And then finally, the newest of the boards, this is a Cilgerran Castle board. Now this has got 6 high power LED outputs and a motor driver on it as well. So you can spin motors left and right if you want to point or have like a weather vane in your terrain and so on. And all of these use this small Wemos D1 mini board as its brain. And you can see here there's a little metal can here. Now most circuit boards and parts and stuff don't always have metal cans on them, but in this case this is actually a Wi-Fi chip. Now most of the time I don't even use its Wi-Fi capabilities. I use it because these boards are relatively low cost. They come with connectors and they talk Arduino, and I'm not a very good programmer, but I can do enough Arduino to be dangerous. Now, one of the challenges with these boards is when you do get these boards from me is that they don't actually come with the connectors on them. I give you the connectors, but often you have to solder them yourself. And so I thought I'd make this video. I'm going to speed through a lot of it, but I'm going to show you what it is to solder these pins, and it's not a difficult thing at all. Now, for most customers, I recommend these cheap little sort of $15 kits. Come with a soldering iron and all the parts and stuff inside. The only thing I want you to pay attention to is that these typically come with, there we go, if I do it like that, a conical or a pointy tip. Pointy tips are useless for soldering with. Soldering is all about heat transfer. You want a flat surface to transfer as much heat from the iron here down to your circuit board. So you're going to see me talk about that in this video that I've recorded in the lab earlier. The only thing I'll add as well is get yourself some decent solder. Don't use the stuff that comes in the kit. A good solder, and there's a link to one in the comments below. There's no affiliates, I don't make money on anything like that, but good solder will make the world of difference to you. So check out the video I'm about to play, and if you have any questions, ask them below. Don't forget to subscribe and so on. And when you are ready to step up and do something a little bit more brainy with your terrain and so on, then come on back to the channel and check out what I've got. Terraintronics Harlech Castle boards. Okay, now these are different from Cilgerran's. These have 8 outputs that drive LEDs directly, no need for resistors in between, but I wouldn't drive high power LEDs with these. These are for your regular sort of 3mm LEDs. So I'm gonna snap the boards first. Okay, now these boards come with output connectors on the output, so we can connect up our LEDs, but they'll also need those same short LED pins down to the board. So the first things first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to teach you a little shortcut here. This is a board that I can use. There we go. I'll pop that by there. Now I'm putting the long pins in, and the short pins at the top. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. There we go. All right, so we've got a straight line of connectors here. This is going to go down like that. Now you can see here the PCB is not flat, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder the first pin and make sure the circuit board is flat with that pin, and I should hold it for the rest. So here we go again. You ready? Add a little bit of solder. Make sure the board is flat, and boom. Now I'm just going to hold it in place. Cools. All right, off we go. Now you can see I'm always applying the heat first. Fantastic, very happy with that. And the same thing happens again with this, right? We've got these pins that need to go down. So I'm going to put one on, put the other on, make sure it's nice and flat. See, I'm flat against the table now. Tap off any solder. Ooh, look at that one. I need to put that one again. There we go. There's a little extra homework to do on this board. I'll show you in just a moment. There we go. Now, you see over here, we've got these funny 3 pins in a row. We're going to put solder across the bottom 2. There we go. We have a solder bridge between them. That's very deliberate because there's a control signal that can either come from one pin or the other. So we do it for the bottom 2. Done. Let's do the other board. So I'm going to take my big header, this is the output header, and squish it into the board. There we go. Make sure all these pins are in line and so on. Sometimes they can get out of shape. Down this goes. Off we go. Heat first, then solder. Make sure it's good. Oh, it's solid. Now the circuit board's not going to wiggle now, so I can now do the job properly. A little bit of heat, a little bit of solder. There we go. If I see any gold poking out, then I definitely want to get that. Now the first time you do this, okay, don't expect miracles. It's okay that it's not perfect. Just make sure that you haven't got big bridges between one pin and the other. Oh, see, now there's a bridge, see that? Here's how you clear it. I can just add a little bit of heat there and separate them. Lovely. Voila, lovely. Oh, there's another bridge. Clear it. Now if you read the documentation, you'll see why that's there. Documentation, as always, is fully open source and on github.com. Links below. Same thing again, straighten things up. Let's solder these in. And then we'll talk about why we're not finished yet, because there's 2 more connections we need to put on here. 2 more items. There we go. Make sure these melt down into the pins. And that's it. That's the second Harlech Castle done. There's only 2 more things to add to those. Let's find those components. Now these Harlech boards use potentiometers. That's these guys, and you change the value on them with a screwdriver. So here we go. Let's pop these in. Now these do need to be soldered. You can't just push them in. And most of the time you should get these. I'll actually be soldering these for you, but if you don't, you get these in the bag, you know what to do now. So you see there's 6 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and same thing over here. Heat first, then solder. Heat first, then solder. Voila! Okay, so now perform some surgery and make 2 Wemos D1s that you could plug with these on or off. Let's get some Wemos D1 minis. Here's the second one. Now these ones are going to have their pins coming up so that these boards can clip on down, okay? Now the cheat code I have for you here is flip this upside down and put these pins into them. Why are you doing this, David? Because it helps align everything really nicely. You ready for this? So that's everything aligned. I'm gonna, here we go, turn it like this so that the silver can points to the underside of the Harlech board in this case. There we go. So you can see now everything is aligned beautifully. And we very quickly do this. Ready? We've been doing this all night long so far. Heat, then solder. Ooh, gotta go over that one again. There we go, make sure we cover the pad. And voila, that's it. If I give that a second to cool, I can separate these boards. That was a Harlech board, let's use a Caernarfon board this time. Ready? 1, 2. Now remember, the silver can points at the castle under the board, and you'll see the curvy sides of the boards line up as well. So let's pop that in, give it a wiggle. All lined up, all beautiful. Now let's solder these. Remember, run it hot enough. Run your soldering iron hot enough and run it with good solder. This is solder with lead in it. It doesn't have to be as hot as the unleaded solder. Solder, sorry, for you Americans. All right, no bridges. I don't see any bridges either. How about that? And there you have it, folks. You know, it doesn't take much to solder these headers on. It really is the kind of the least complex form of soldering. As long as you've got the right solder, the right solder tip, and you run it around 375 for that leaded solder, everything should be fine. Any questions, ask them below. And remember, you can always get in touch with me on the Discord server as well. All right, thanks again. Bye-bye.